Hello, everybody. It is actually, it's funny. I was thinking, I don't know, I was thinking about the gathering today. And I know that you invariably start things like this by saying it's really good to see you. But in this case, given all that's unfolded in the US and over the last couple of weeks and continues to unfold in our world, I really am glad to see you all. It's such a pleasure to come together with people who care and are just stepping out and stepping forward and doing it with so much love and creativity and joy and skill and passion. So welcome. My name is Mary Fridley. For those of you who don't know me, I am the coordinator of Reimagining Dementia, a creative coalition for justice. We are about a 700 plus person coalition now. All of our members are individuals. And I would say we just got a member from Portugal, which I think brings our member count up to about 30. Which is wonderful. And I know we've been doing a little bit of show of hands, but maybe one more time, if you are new and have never been to a gathering, leave aside whether you're new to the coalition. If you've never been to a gathering, just raise your hand. Great, wonderful. Then welcome to our newest members and friends. If you are not yet a member, we certainly hope you'll take a moment to join us before, if you like what you hear, and of course we welcome you no matter what. Been thinking about reimagining, since amongst other things, it's the title of our coalition. But for a number of reasons, including some things I'm writing, I've just been thinking about reimagining, and I realized it's hard to imagine or reimagine anything unless you're able to go to some new places and see some new things and have some new experiences. And that involves, I think, moving out of our comfort zones. And one of as everyone knows, I am a big proponent of play. And I thought what I would do actually, before making a few remarks, I wanted to try to get us into the play frame of mind almost immediately. So I wasn't originally going to do this, but what the heck. We're going to now, I'm not going to introduce you to one of my favorite people, but someone who's going to get us lead off with I have no idea what she's doing, but it's going to be fun. So let me bring to the stage, so to speak, Jennifer Hicks, who is in Toronto. She is a member of our steering committee. She is a NIA, which is Creative Movement Instructor. She's founder of Good Conversations, together with Robin Girton, who's also here, and has done did a wonderful job as a communications liaison for the Let's Reimagine campaign. So Jennifer, let's have some fun.
Yes. All right, everyone. We're going to, I don't know about you, but I just came from 2 separate meetings, so I've been sitting for a big part of my afternoon. So I wanted to get us moving around a little. So I am just going to ask you some things and then ask you to do some movements if they apply to you. So I want to see how many of us are in Canada. I'd love you to wiggle your fingers if you are in Canada. Ooh, hello, Canadians. All right, clap your hands if you are in the US. Oh, lots of Americans. Wow. Okay, and wave if you are, is anyone here from Europe? Or have we got, was it all? No? Okay, there we go. We're all Canadian and US here. All right, if you are happy to be here, I'd love you to wink your eye and make a real scene. Can you wink both up? One eye and then the other? Thank you. Okay, if you have blue eyes, reach your hands up overhead. Oh, lots of blue eyes.
Oh,
Yay. All right,
Like-
brown eyes. Brown eyes. Okay, green. Any green? Yeah, there we go.
Actually, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I'm not blue-eyed. So let's give up for Hazel. Yay!
Okay. Now, the truth comes out here. If you have gray hair, touch your elbow.
Gray hair, touch your elbow.
Gray hair.
Here.
Underneath all of this is gray, lots of gray hair. All right. If you are wearing glasses, make a fist. If you're, yeah, I'm wearing glasses. Yeah. All right. And for these next ones, I'd love you to make a sound as we do it. So if you are a nice person, put your thumbs up and give me a sound. Yay.
Yay!
Hey, if you don't agree with others' self-assessment, put your fingers up. Sorry.
Ooh, if you are barefoot, not wearing any shoes right now, snap your fingers. Give me a
How
sound.
did you know?
Barefoot people.
Yeah, lots of barefoot people. Wow. Okay. If you have a pet, oh, I hear some noise. If you have a pet, scrunch your nose and make a sound. Okay. Here's a trick one. If you are breathing currently, blink 5 times. Blink, 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 blink.
Okay.
If there were only 2 people breathing, that would have been a problem.
Yes, it was a trick question. Yeah.
All righty, let's give a big round of applause. All righty. Well, it's good to know at least some of you are breathing. Hopefully we will we will depend on that lasting through at least the end of the gathering. All right, some quick comments before we turn it over to our main conversation. As I said before, we have about 700 members plus, and again, one of those new, some of our newest members are from Malaysia, where Reimagining Dementia Malaysia founder Cecilia Chan and colleagues have created their own Let's Reimagine videos. I'm just curious, who has seen it? Okay, if you have not, please, please, please go to our website. It's not the same video. I mean, they use what we originally created, but it is just so wonderful to see what they did with it. And they took it and ran with it. And share it. And if you have seen it, please share it. And again, urge others to do the same. It's a wonderful way to create community. I think that's one of the things I was struck by when I watched them. And I know that was our experience with ours. It is the creating of community. It's not something that you do and then get around to that. People were just joyous. And I think I was thinking about, I mean, you know, obviously we're very gratified by the people who continue to join us. We get new members daily, weekly. But I think one of the things we've been talking about and I've been thinking about recently is that if we're going to create the transformation that we seek in both the broader culture within institutions of care, and those two are certainly related, it's not going to be a numbers game. I mean, we're never going to incrementally reach. I mean, I suppose if 54 million people join us in the next 2 days, you can say that I was wrong, but it's not and for us, it's not a numbers game. And I think that what we're increasingly focusing our attention on is how can we create new kinds of partnerships, alliances that build on and help advance what none of us, and certainly not the coalition, is able to do alone. And there's just many, many possible partners out there. And we hope the conversation we're going to be leading today is one in which we can do in partnership with many others. But other things, and we're being looked to. Let's Reimagine was also featured at a recent cross-Canadian conversation that we hosted with the Hamilton Council on Aging. The council has launched its own Faces of Dementia campaign, which at the heart of which is just a wonderful video. But again, if you have not seen it, please go to, I guess you would go to, I mean, we'll include the link in the follow-up email, but it would be the Hamilton Council on Aging. Some of our members, including Debbie Kay, who's here, are featured prominently. Some of our UK members have been taking the coalition out to local fairs, community events, and participating in a conversation sponsored by the Journal of Dementia Care about the need to reimagine the dementia conversation practice in London. Just a reminder, if you're going to conferences or events or any kind of things like that, we have informational postcards, outreach leaflets that you can use wherever you go. Just reach out to us at the Reimagine Dementia email. And we can make sure that you know how to access them. But again, and this is just really, and I mean this serious, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We get emails every day from people who are in organizations who are reaching out to the coalition because they want to find new, radically different, radically creative, humanistic, and just fun ways to engage and transform a world in which dementia is still related to, and that's one of the things we'll discuss today, both literally and figuratively, as a death sentence. And I guess you will just have to trust me when I say people are so happy we exist. I just think it's if nothing, I think are tremendous sorts of inspiration. And so, and thinking more about, and again, thinking about the conversation we want to have tonight, again, it's one of the things that I've become clear on, and I referenced this before, is that the coalition has no interest in reinventing wheels and doing what other people are doing as well or better than us. We don't want to do things alone. But I think we have a lot to offer in partnership with others, and our job is to really leverage and continue to just find innovative, creative ways to leverage just considerable resources and talents, and that to make sure that creativity, joy, growth, possibility, collaboration is included in every conversation, every practice and policy, every research project. Because if we don't, and by we, I mean the broader we, the many more people out there who are involved in these conversations than just the group here. But if we don't, then regardless of intent, and our intents are very good, the biomedical model and a cognitively based education and learning approach will continue to dominate. And in my view, they're going to continue to distort our relationship with dementia and ensure that no one is able to grow and thrive, regardless, if you will, of your cognitive, where you are in your cognitive process. I think it impacts on us all. So with that, I think that use that as an introduction and kind of the spirit with which we're going to engage in this conversation about stigma, dementia, and the medical profession. That is a working title. Do not, well, I suppose if you hate the title, you can let me know, but otherwise it's a working title. We are not, it's just we had to say something. Because, and part of the conversation I think has to be who can we collaborate with and how can we create a conversation ultimately that doesn't involve finger pointing and shame for anyone involved, whether you're the patient, the medical professional, the family caregiver, anyone in that whole system. It's a hideous system. And our job is to find a way to creatively and boldly, we hope, do something new. And I know this is a trite statement, we actually really can't do without you. You are the ambassadors. We need to bring creativity, imagination, again, to in every possible way, every corner of the world. So I'm now my honor to introduce a couple of our steering committee members who are leading, and we'll kind of set up the conversation. let you know a little bit about how we're thinking about this. We're not doing this under the assumption that we're the only ones thinking about this. That I think this is something that, whether it's formally pursued, is on a lot of people's minds. But we think we have something special to offer, so we're gonna find that out tonight. So I want to bring, if you will, to the stage. As I said, two of our steering committee members, Nicolette Ketchum and Nancy Nelson. Nicolette facilitates the Hummingbird Memory Campaign, or actually, Nicolette, you can say if you do or don't. I actually realize, I don't know if you still do, since Nicolette is a new resident of Las Vegas, but I assume she's still supporting the work in Farmington, New Mexico. Nicolette also worked and so knows a lot about the healthcare system. She worked as a physician assistant with the Indian Health Service in both Arizona and New Mexico. And having gotten to know her now for over the last year and a half, she is a fiercely dedicated advocate for equity in all areas of life. Nancy Nelson also is a native, she lives in Las Vegas. She has lived with dementia for almost 10 years. In that time, she's published 3 books of poetry, speaks to large groups at education and public policy events, has participated in dementia research, and founded with Kat Hartley, who is also here, the always delightful Dangle and Dot. If you've never heard of it, check it out. They're a lot of fun. And in case you're wondering, Nancy is Dangle.
If you're wondering.
If you're wondering, I'm sure we weren't going to be able to continue this conversation unless people knew who Dangle and who was Dot. So anyway, Nancy and Nicolette, why don't you take it away? We'll do a short setup, and then we're going to go into small groups. So Nancy and Nicolette.
All right, thanks so much. So yes, I am facilitator of the Hummingbird Memory Cafe, which is online. So it doesn't matter where I live, we can connect with anyone around the world. So I'm a member of one of the coalition's subcommittees also developed to explore and address stigma, dementia, and the medical system. The idea for this subcommittee was prompted by a post on Twitter after a presentation by advocates living with dementia. The post quotes a well-known medical professional saying, "We're allowing people who claim to have dementia but clearly do not to fabricate an entirely false public view of the condition and invent a new phenomenology of the experiences that patients have and what may help them." This post was deeply upsetting and concerning to persons living with dementia. It was shared with the coalition by a member who lives with dementia. It has generated a lot of discussion about the harm caused to people living with dementia, family members, and professionals when seeing dementia as presented only in one way, despite the known complexities, and dismissing the diagnosis if presented otherwise. So today we're interested in understanding both how people living with dementia have experienced this type of stigma, and also how people working within the medical system have experienced these scenarios. For example, how it must feel to have to give multiple different diagnoses to one patient. We're also interested in stories where people have felt supported and cared for during encounters with the medical system. We are in the process of gathering these stories and are hoping you can help us. Our hope is to be able to use real stories in a creative arts-based way to raise awareness of the harm caused and combat stigma in the medical system. So Nancy now is going to share a personal story as an example. Nancy?
Yes, thank you. It's so nice to be here today. I was diagnosed in 2013 and re-diagnosed in 2017 from early onset Alzheimer's to mild cognitive impairment. And my experience was in the process, once I got the diagnosis, I didn't feel the stigma, but when I got the re-diagnosis, I felt the stigma. Suddenly what I had been saying and talking and showing up for seemed trite and seemed like people questioned me more. People stood back a little. People were more hesitant, and almost in a way that said, gosh, are you sure you have it? Because you come across as someone that doesn't. And I don't know how many times I have heard, you don't have Alzheimer's. What are you talking about? You know, or you don't act like you have anything. And I found myself in the beginning trying to justify, and then finally, took very little time, but finally I said, you know what, thanks, because I don't want to justify something that I don't want. But it did make me feel more less than. It did make me more hesitant. And it did make me perhaps not speak up, perhaps step back, because I really wasn't sure and didn't want people to think that I was trying to take on or own something that wasn't mine to own. It's a terrible place to be. I think that I had, in my diagnosis run, I've been to 4 doctors and 1 Ayurvedic practitioner, and all of them thought, yes, that I did have a problem. And so, you know, you find yourself looking for justification and you can't find it. So I would say, you know, there is a problem about stigma. And as much as I've spoken about it, I don't think it's being addressed like perhaps we'd like it to be. You know, we all want to live on with dignity and show respect and give respect. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And there seems to be something about the medical profession, the medical system, if you will, that doesn't allow us to move on and justify people where they are in their behavior, and so that we can grow and we can survive and thrive. It's not an ending, it is a beginning. And creativity that the Reimagining Dementia Coalition brings to people is a gift, along with the early diagnosis, a gift, because then we can plan how we're going to do this new beginning.
Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. So now we're going to divide everybody up into breakout rooms. When you get into your breakout rooms, take a minute to choose someone within your group who can take notes and then share a summary with us when we return. So it may be the same person that presents who took notes, or maybe you want to split that up and one person take notes and another person provide the summary. And these are the 2 topics to discuss if you have time to get to the second one. And we will put these in the chat as well. Tell a story of a personal experience you have had or that you know about of an interaction of a person living with dementia with the medical system, positive or negative. What happened? For example, have you ever had an experience where the diagnosis of dementia was changed, or you were told that you or your relative did not have dementia? How did that feel? And if you have time, the second question is, how can we use the arts and creativity to raise awareness of the harms caused by stigma and provide alternative ways of relating with persons living with dementia?
Can
So
I
I'll
just
go ahead
add sorry, can I just make a friendly addition to the last thing you said? In addition to kind of how can we creatively engage the stigma? Also, I think one of the things we're talking about is how can we bring together everybody involved with this to create serious new kinds of conversations together? Like, I think in my mind, it would be wonderful to bring people together and really have the conversations about what are the challenges, what are the conflicts. So just to add that to the mix of what kind of conversations would people be interested in having and with who?
Okay, and Casey, are you going to put us into breakout rooms?
All righty, so you have about 22 minutes, and so we'll see you back here. Have fun. And have fun, play around with the conversation.
Are you taking over, Mary, or am I?
Oh, well, I'm only, taking over is probably a harsh.
Oh,
assessment.
gosh, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it
No,
that
the only
way.
reason I started to speak is because I got a note privately
Oh,
that
okay.
whatever group Jennifer Hicks is in would like to start the conversation
Yes.
because Jennifer needs to leave.
That's right. And she was kind enough to take notes.
Oh, okay. Well, then in which case I'm the only one that can see the note. So Jennifer, why don't your group take it away?
Yes. Okay. So thank you very much to group members Chris, Jacqueline, Peggy, Alana, Paige, myself, and of course the brilliant Nancy Nelson.
Humbly.
I'm just going to brag about our group a little bit because I think we had some really smart, really clever discussion around some personal and some related experiences when it comes to stigma. A theme that sort of came up was around the need to humanize the dementia, let's start again. The need to be human with one another, and to destigmatize, to take some of the fear around. Nancy said some people are afraid of catching dementia, but to put people in a room together and have them spend time together. Peggy was talking about a program in a museum that she ran where she did a pre and post stigma, dementia stigma questionnaire with people who were interacting in the museum with people with dementia, and the stigma dropped, and it's a matter of the interaction and really just getting upping the empathy. A really good point Jacqueline made was about the potency of doctors themselves educating other doctors, and how that could really make people sort of listen and just relate a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, talk about empathy and building bridges. There was some discussion around our internal shame and stigma when it comes to, not even wanting to say the word dementia or Alzheimer's in some cases. And so how that can continue stigma. And I loved what Paige talked about with respect to her theater company, where they're actively making accommodations for someone living with dementia in the same way you would make accommodations for someone in a wheelchair or that kind of thing. And I think that kind of covers the gist of what our group talked about.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we would like to hear summaries from all the groups, and what your ideas might be to use the arts and raise awareness about this issue. So would someone else step up and share what their group had come up with?
Before I have just a reminder to everyone, including Jennifer, who has taken notes. You'll send the notes then to the Reimagining Dementia, but particularly it'd be helpful to any and all references to people who are already doing this, or might be resources or collaborative partners. Even if you all didn't talk about it, if people know of things, send those along to us as well. Because I've been talking to a lot of folks who are enmeshed in this conversation. So it just broadens this and just makes it much richer conversation. Sorry, another group. Okay, yours was, I don't know, group 1, 2. Robin, were you part of a group?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is Robin's group, or I don't know if you were the reporter, but.
I just was the one taking the notes, but we were led by the rock star Debbie Key.
Okay.
And in fact, everybody in group 3 was just an extraordinary rock star. We could have talked on and on, really, really moving. In group 3, we had Wally, who probably needs no introduction, and Jill running memory cafes and caregiving for her mother and her brother, and running a family center locally. We welcome George, our new member, who I'm so interested. I think we would all love to read your story that you wrote, a memoir, a book that you wrote about your experiences profound it must have been to be in relationship with your father so intimately. So George wrote a story, My Father's Shirts, to use as a springboard for awareness, which we all think is amazing. Debbie Key also probably needs no introduction, but I'm just so thrilled to have met her, who's been in the trenches, living with role modeling what is possible, and her attitude of gratitude. Marion is 40 plus years, nurse practitioner, manager, intensive psych, mental health skills. And I think it was extraordinary that Marion gave us a story from her own experience of a dear friend who was diagnosed, and because of her perceived feelings about that, was not wanting to interact with Marion. And I think we can all feel how painful that must have been. The bottom line is that all these people, and I'm an artist who has the privilege of working creatively with people living with dementia and their families. So there's sort of a through line of storytelling, whether we are writing our own personal stories or sharing our experiences of people living with dementia, or building skills, as Marion is. She's now in private practice nursing and also teaching skills. We all came up with the idea of role play. So whether teaching skills versus knowledge to future medical professionals, allowing them to see a bad role model and then a good and informative and realistic role model of what it's like to be on both sides, whether you're whether you're the doctor or the medical professional giving the diagnosis and all of that perspective versus being on the other side and being a person living with dementia. So role playing seemed to be what we came up with. We could have gone on and fleshed that out, I'm sure.
Great, thank you. Then I guess we're whatever the remaining group is, and we have about a minute. So hopefully you can send your notes. You may not be able to summarize everything. Nefli?
Yes, so I took notes for our group, and I did not write down the names of everybody in our group. So everybody who was in our group, just wave. There we are. There we are. So we heard a story of the experience of living with Alzheimer's for 8 years and negative experiences with doctors who did not look at the person with the diagnosis, and had some really good conversation around the process of changing that dynamic and of changing that paradigm. It seemed to be really helpful to have an advocate, partner, a life partner, and a care partner alongside to sort of re-educate the physicians in that setting. And so there was a lot that we talked about in terms of the power of that and of speaking up to help change that. And also just a reflection on how terrible that feels when that happens, and just some strategies about that, being dismissed when you know something is wrong with you and being told, oh, you're smart, feeling disrespected and unheard. So we heard some testimony around that. We also talked some about how complicated the diagnosis can be from a couple different perspectives. We heard just also from like the clinical employee perspective and also from a daughter's perspective, like how hard it can be to honor and figure out how to support a person getting a diagnosis of dementia and Alzheimer's, and the feeling of shame that comes with a lot of that process. And then at the end, we sort of talked about the challenges in the medical profession with a condition that kind of has no cure and how difficult that is, and the need for a paradigm shift And so we sort of ended thinking about what's the conversation to shift from this focus on cure to one of care and to a recognition of our interdependence and the ways in which creativity helps us see from another's point of view and helps open up that conversation. So I feel like at the end, some of the things I heard from the other groups are what we were touching on as we talk about shared experience and shared humanity and the power of the arts to help us create connection and empathy and see from another person's point of view. I think that's what we ended with. Did I miss anything,
Mhm.
Ruth?
I just wanted to add, I think you got everything, Nepali. There's just the one thing I added right at the last second was I was curious if Reimagining Dementia Coalition had looked at Being Mortal, Atul Gawande's work, just because he was a physician. He did talk about taking the patient's perspective. He doesn't speak specifically to dementia, but I thought maybe that might help. It could help inform the conversation. So just wanted to ask that.
I mean, I personally am familiar. I don't know that we as a coalition, I don't know that it's probably not something as a coalition we've done. However, I do think we are, and again, would love to hear, I think there's a lot of medical professionals out there to bring into this conversation who are doing really equally innovative work. I don't think it's the case that we're the only people, trying to figure out how the hell to move forward in some non-traditional way. So I personally, I want all of those voices heard as part of this because we're not alone. I mean, everybody's being impacted on by these dreadful medical conversations. And I would say by the tyranny of diagnosis. I think that it's not as if diagnosis is helping any of us exactly move forward if it becomes an over-determining kind of force in our lives. So I think there's many allies, and I think there's many people we could bring into this conversation that goes along. But you all have certainly given us a lot to work with. We will come back to you. You are all now a big part of this conversation. So we
Mary,
you will not. This
may I
will not
ask
be the last time it happens. Yes, sorry, Jacqueline.
My question is are the organizations that are like yours, where it's a different way of thinking and holding the disease, and then the kind of support you give people with the disease, partners and all of that, is there ever, like, I know there's a conference about aging, there's a conference about, I know the September conference, DAA, but I rarely see a conference. DAA is the only one I know of. Are there other conferences where people come together with all the organizations with the new paradigm and kind of not only have a conference, but maybe they behind the scenes start connecting, working together, and then look at financial support systems? Because foundations even ask me, Jacqueline, what are the organizations that you think would be good for our foundation to give to? So that's my question, Mary.
And I will try to answer in about 30 because we're actually over time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's not it's just that we will expand on this answer. I think the answer is, as far as I know, and other people could know more, I don't know of any coming togethers of people explicitly working in the creative, broadly speaking, arena. That doesn't mean there aren't there. And I think, however, like I've gotten a number of emails in the last few days, or we have the coalition of people who I think are interested in doing just that, of just kind of finding some ways to partner. And so it's in its very nascent stages. I don't want to overstate it. Many people have said to us, including our members and some of our steering committee members, you should have a conference, you should have together, and perhaps we will. We would need to have a lot to set into place, and we'll come back to you with that as well. But yeah, I think that's our general feeling about this, is this might be an opportunity to really bring together all the forces who are doing innovative work. And it's not just the dementia arena at all. I happen to know that, and I think a lot of us know people who are. So I think it would be valuable to expand that conversation and show that it's a much more powerful force than I think people perhaps, think it is. All right, so we will bid you adieu as always. We'll kind of dance our way out. It's lovely, 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 and really, really, really good to see you all. Welcome to our new members. Join us. We'll be back in touch soon. We'll be in conversation. Our next series of gatherings will be in September. The schedule is on our website. So sign up for September and December. But again, much will happen before our next gathering. So please have a great evening. Keep playing, stay creative. Casey, play us out.
Super quick, everybody. I wrote an article about the stigma of dementia on caregiving.com. I put the link in the chat. I actually quoted our friendly Mary Fridley in it. And I'll be writing an article series. So this is just the beginning. I'll keep posting on caregiving.com. I think I'm going to do about 5 articles. So I would love if you could check it out. I base it all on research. I just love to hear all your thoughts. So feel free to share in the chat on caregiving.com. Thank you.
Jacqueline, I wanted to say it was really nice to see you again.
Oh. Who?
Jacqueline.
Oh, Jacqueline, yes. Anyway.
It was good to see
Casey,
you.
Let's bring up the music.
Thank
People can talk